Okay, we should be all set, live streaming as well.
Well, it looks great. Does YouTube do any, sorry. Does YouTube give you any analytics, like how many folks live streamed during the event?
Yeah, you can see, thank you very much. You can see like how many views there are and things like that.
Oh, nice.
I think that's actually public, but,
Okay.
yeah, but we also do have the studio, so we can see more details.
Just out of curiosity. Good morning, Chi.
Good morning.
Hi,
Chi.
I have to apologize. I have another important meeting starts at 12 and I need 10 minutes to prepare that meeting. So I will leave at 11:45.
No problem.
Thank you.
Unlikely that we'll use the full time today.
Good.
You are our first task force member to arrive.
Yeah, I was just checking. Seems like
We need a couple more. We need a couple more folks.
oh, cool.
But I suspect they'll trickle on soon.
I love the picture.
It is a nice one, huh?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever frolicked through sunflower fields? In real life?
No, have you?
No, I would love to though.
There are
Caleb has, so.
Good.
Hi, James.
Yes,
James, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
Are you back from Europe?
I am. Yeah, I got back on the 9th, so it's been like 2 weeks.
Okay, so you are no longer jet lagged.
No.
How was your trip?
It was great. Yeah, I had a really good time. It was hard to come back.
Usually is. Usually is. Well, we're glad to have you back. Hi.
Yeah.
Good morning. We've got 3 of 7. Thanks for joining. Hopefully we can get one more in a moment. We could proceed. We can't take any action, so we would have to skip over the meeting summary. But we're only at 11:02. Want to wait another minute or two?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone have any exciting summer plans coming up?
I'm having a big Spanish workshop on Friday. That's exciting.
Oh, for what?
For USDA programs, introducing different USDA programs to their Spanish-speaking producers in the Central Coast, California. And it's co-run by Monterey RCD, San Benito RCD, and there are several other RCDs in the region.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, we just had a Chinese speaking, the exactly same workshop, but it's focusing on Chinese speaking farmers also in the Central Coast, California, also with the RCDs and CRCD.
How did it go? Was it well attended?
The Chinese speaking workshops, we had 55 farmers attended. It was a great success, and we have Monterey RCD, San Benito RCD, Santa Cruz RCD, and San Mateo RCD collaborated together.
That sounds very successful.
Yes, I'm very excited about the Spanish one.
Good. That's awesome.
Nice.
You'll have interpreters?
Yes, we have interpreters, and the RCDs of Monterey RCD, they have Spanish-speaking staff on board, so they are handling the translation. For the Chinese workshop, I was handling all the translation. So we translated the slides and we verbally translated the content of the whole workshop. And for the Chinese workshop, I was doing the outreach. For the Spanish one, the Monterey City staff, they have 3 staff that's fluent in Spanish. So they're doing the outreach. And also San Benito City, they have 1 that speaks Spanish too.
That's great.
Yeah,
It's a big effort.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's also related to farmland access because we introduced the FSA loans to the farmers.
Oh, great.
Yeah, lots of farmers there, they have been wanting to get the loans from the FSA, but due to all those barriers, and finally, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, they will be able to, there will be more underserved farmers in this Central Coast region to access that farm loan from FSA.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So much of it is about information sharing.
Yes, agree. Yeah.
Hello, Irene.
Right. 1, 2, 3.
Then we're gonna be building it out once we clean up some of the.
Sorry, I'm just finishing another meeting.
Compile.
Right.
We'll add this as well, including the.
So, task force members, what do you think? 11:06, should we proceed? We have quorum.
No problem with me.
Okay. Let's get rolling. I know your time is precious. Thank you for joining. For the record and for our recording, this is a meeting of the California Agricultural Land Equity Task Force, the Assembly Bill or AB 524 Subcommittee. My name is Megan Wiley. I'm with Sacramento State University, providing facilitation support to the task force and its subcommittees. And we also have staff from California Strategic Growth Council supporting the meeting. We have in the conference room, Camille Frazier and Caleb Swanson, and online with us, Tessa Salzman. So we'll be providing technical support and also taking notes and generating the meeting summary. Quick review of our standard participation guidelines. All of our meetings share these same guidelines where we generate a space of mutual respect, sharing, learning and listening, really encourage and respect differing viewpoints and perspectives in order to make stronger work products collectively and staying on point. So our conversation today is related to AB 524. That goes for conversation that's had with the subcommittee members and also any public comment by meeting attendees, except for the general public comment session at the end of our subcommittee meeting. Those comments can be related to anything that's within the realm of task force business, not just AB 524. Here's a quick review of the public comment process, and we will flash this on screen when we get to all of the different points when you can make public comment. But if you're interested, you can go ahead and complete the form at this website here, sgc.ca.gov/meetings-events, and you can fill out a comment form for each item. Today we have 3, which is, I'll review the agenda in a moment. Or you can just use your raise hand feature. It's pretty easy for us to pick you up if you raise hand features, and we'll let you know when your microphone is unmuted, and you're free to share your comment. You find the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. Sometimes it is right there in the panel for you. Sometimes you have to click the reactions button that may look like a smiley face or a heart, depending on your Zoom screen. Cameras are optional. Always nice to see smiles. Right, our quick plan for this morning, we're scheduled to go until 12:30. It is unlikely that we will use the full time because our agenda shifted a bit since we last first scheduled this meeting. But we'll do a review and approval of the April meeting summary, and then our second session, the primary session, is our working session where we'll hear updates on the legislation since that April subcommittee meeting, and then allow our task force members time and space to decide how they may or may not want to engage further with the legislation. And then we will take general public comment before we close out. Okay, let's do a quick roll call of members to establish quorum. Let's start with member Nakahara.
Present.
Member Chizo.
Here.
Member Leah Schwartzman.
Here.
and member Irene de Baracua.
Here, here, sorry.
Wonderful. Quorum is established. A few subcommittee members who are not with us today are members Nathaniel Brown, member Lawrence Harlan, member Doria Robinson. Okay, first item of business, approval of the April 18th, 2025 meeting summary. Would any task force member like me to bring up a copy of the April meeting summary, and do you have any edits or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the summary?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Member Zoe. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, James. Let's pause and see if there's any public comment on the meeting summary. No public comment forms, no hands up. Okay, excellent. So there is a motion and a second, and I will go around. Please say aye if you approve, nay if you don't approve or abstain. Member Nakahara.
Approve.
Member Schwartzman.
Approve.
Member Zoe.
I approve.
Member De Baracua.
I approve.
Wonderful. The motion carries, and we will finalize and post the final meeting summary on the website and distribute it to our task force members promptly. Okay. Working session. Here we go. I will invite Caleb to give us a brief walkthrough of the bill history since we last met in April.
Yeah, hey everyone. So since we last met back on April 18th, on April 22nd, this subcommittee submitted a position letter to the Assembly Agriculture Committee. And then on May 1st, this bill passed the Assembly Agriculture Committee 8-0. And then it was then referred to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. On May 23rd, the Assembly Appropriations Committee passed the bill 14-0. And then on June 2nd, this bill passed the California Assembly 76-0. And then on June 11th, it was referred to the Senate Committees on Agriculture and then the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Water. And then yesterday on June 24th, the bill passed the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Water 6-1, and it was sent to the Senate Agriculture Committee. Next slide, please. I also wanted to provide a quick overview of the changes to the bill since we last met. On May 1st, some new co-authors were added from the Assembly, so you can see those members there. And then on April 22nd, there were also some amendments made to the bill text, particularly or specifically around lease-to-own opportunities for qualified farmers and qualified entities. So give a few seconds to kind of read through those amendments. All right. Next slide, please. And then I wanted to give a quick overview of what the path for this bill moving forward looks like. So currently bills are being considered in the second chamber by policy committees. And the deadline for those policy committees to consider and pass or not pass those bills is July 18th. And then from July 18th to August 18th, the legislature will be in summer recess. And then from August 18th to August 29th, the fiscal committees or the appropriations committees will meet and consider bills assigned to them. And then they can either pass those along to the full chamber for full consideration, or they'll hold those in committee where they'll essentially die. And then September 12th is the last day for the full chamber to consider those bills that are passed on to them. And if they pass them, then October 12th is the last day for the governor to sign or veto those bills. That's really all I have there, and then I'll pass it back over to Megan for further discussion.
I'm happy to flip back to the timeline slide or the next step slide if you like, but really now your conversation is, would you like to take any further action? Would you like to engage any further with this piece of legislation? And I did ask the question previously if the position letter that you all wrote initially back in April was carried on throughout its journey in the legislative process when it goes to other assemblies and et cetera. And the answer is no.
Sorry, can you say that again, Megan? What now?
The position letter that you all issued as a subcommittee to just generally support the legislation back in April.
Huh?
This piece, I'm going to scroll backwards. When you submitted in April to the Assembly Agriculture Committee, I had asked the question, do position letters get bundled as part of the package as the draft legislation carries on its journey through the various committees and assemblies? For example, would then the Assembly Appropriations Committee, would they have received your position letter? And the answer is no. So it's not safe to say that these other committees have seen your position letter. So one possible piece of engagement for you to discuss and consider today is to maybe repurpose your letter and just change who it's addressed to.
And that would make it addressed to where we are today, so the second chamber?
It would be to the, yes, I guess the second chamber.
Second chamber, and there's only 2 committees that would then see that bill that are left. So the agriculture, Senate agriculture, it's headed there next. We don't exactly know the timeline, so that does make it a little challenging in terms of knowing how quickly you would need to move if you were to decide to take that action. And then if it passes that, it goes to fiscal.
School committee.
So there are 2
Yep.
opportunities there.
Yeah, where are you all at with your thinking on this?
Sorry, I was wanting clarification on that. Is it a letter to the next committee that we're looking to potentially send it to?
Yes, well, I guess if we just kind of back up on our own internal history as a task force with this. So we had to move really quickly following the May meeting, which was when this was kind of blossoming, right? And or excuse me, the March meeting, the full task force meeting in March. Then you all established a subcommittee meeting to further consider this and figure out how you want to engage. But because of our own Bagley-Keene meeting limitations and the tight turnaround timeline, as you know, you all ended up generating a position letter that was just submitted on behalf of the subcommittee members, not on behalf of the full task force. Then we opened up the conversation at our May meeting to see if the full task force essentially wanted to repurpose that high-level position letter and sign it on behalf of the task force as a whole. We engaged in some conversation about that and ultimately decided, no, we're not taking action on that for various reasons. And so it kind of stopped there, but we knew that there were other parts of the journey of the legislative cycle that we wanted to check in on. So we elected to retain this conversation today to see if there were other touch points or other parts of engagement that you all as a subcommittee wanted to take. So not the full task force, but as a subcommittee. So I was just sharing, I had the question as we were preparing for this, do the other committees, for example, the Senate Agricultural Committee or the Fiscal Committee, would they see your original position letter that was submitted back in April? And the answer is no. So I was just proposing you all to consider the question as one possible opportunity to repurpose that letter essentially verbatim, except change who it's addressed to. If you wanted to submit something to the Senate Agriculture Committee and or the Fiscal Committee, we do have some question marks on that timeline. That's unknown yet, but you could do something there. Or you could just decide, nope, like we put forward a position letter in April and that feels satisfactory, and it feels and it's clearly being demonstrated that this bill is enjoying support as it's getting passed through all these other committees. So maybe you feel like you've done enough and you would like to engage just directly with CAF later on to start working through the details of the legislation if we were to assume that it's passed and it's implemented.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was understanding, so that's great though to hear that whole overview. And I mean, for me, I would think it would be great to repurpose it. There's no chance of us as a subcommittee meeting with the legislative office directly?
Oh, I don't have the answer to that question.
Hi,
Um,
Beth.
go ahead.
Irene, do you mean, is the question whether you as subcommittee members could talk with the bill authors?
Yes. Since that was seemed to have been kind of the issue that they had not really contacted the task force, but were named in it. I didn't know if that was something. I mean, I don't know how others feel, but if that's something that maybe we should do is engage in that way as to what that would mean in terms of the task force, being named there. And I do
I'll
still.
just hop in and say I agree. I agree that it would make sense to repurpose. Although I'm a little hesitant, but I do think it would make sense if there's agreement on the quorum of the subcommittee for the ag land equity or for the AB 524 to repurpose so that the next two kind of bodies that are reviewing it know that it has support from at least the subcommittee of the task force. I also think that's probably the only way that we can reinforce trying to kind of encourage them to engage with the task force, which I do think it is happening. It's just, I don't think it's happening like, yeah, I think it's hard. It's like there are bills that get written all the time that involve people that don't necessarily get to weigh in on the bill that's being written about them, which is unfortunate. And that's a huge problem. And there seems to be general alignment that what happens to be in this particular bill does align really well with what we're hoping are the outcomes that happen around the policy recommendations we're making as a full task force. I don't know another mechanism besides redoing the letter, because the letter has a piece in it where it's like I think it's something like we look forward to engaging more or something like that. Like there's a piece of the letter that I thought was kind of encouraging of like having a little bit more of a relationship with the drafters. And that also, it feels like a little bit like the ship sailed, kind of, given that it's made it through all these other committees and assemblies. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so, and then the other thing is that I think it would also make sense given that there's been amendment language changes. So like saying like, yes, like we're okay with the amendment changes too. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit agnostic. Like I think while our previous letter will not like get seen by everybody else, I think I think it's probably likely that people would presume that this is not something that we're against, and there's nothing coming out that says that we're explicitly against it. So I don't know. I don't know enough about the kind of interior workings of how these bills get passed and made to feel like I have like a ton of steady ground to stand on. Anyways, I'm talking too long, but I'm generally speaking, I'm in agreement with Irene. And there is like a little ambiguity about connecting with the drafters and wanting to have more connection there, but I would be into the idea of repurposing the letter, maybe tweaking it a little bit.
I'm in support of repurposing the letter. That's all fine. I think I'm just still looking forward to having some conversation to really understand this timeline that's not aligning in engaging the task force. And whether that has implications for some recommendations that we need to make, such as saying, and the task force, we're recommending the task force continue for X period of time in order to support the development of AB 524 or something along those lines, because it's just we're not going to be around currently to do the things that 524 is assigning to us. So I think that that's just some of the things that I want to understand more so that we can make some educated language within our recommendations to support what we're being signed up for.
Didn't Sean say that after we still like, even though the recommendations are done, that there isn't like an official end to the task force, or am I mixing that up?
No, you are correct about that, James. So as established in that 2022 budget bill, the task force is established to submit a report of recommendations, and that has a deadline. So that needs to be done by January 1, 2026. But it does not specify an endpoint or the dissolution of the task force. So that I think, Leah, your point though is, what does that look like is a valid set of questions. But James, yes, you are correct. The task force does not immediately end. The task force needs to actually vote to dissolve itself. Would be the way that this body would be finished according to legal's guidance.
That's really good to know. But then we need to have some place to have a discussion about, I think some folks within the task force have an expectation of a timeline. So we would need to get folks to recommit to an additional term of service. And if we have folks who drop off, we're going to need to do a process to bring more folks on. So, these are just kind of things we need to get some clarity around so we can start to move forward. Did you want in? And then Irene?
No, I just I appreciate how Leah put it, because that's what I was kind of looking at, in the sense of like where does this put the task force and whatnot. But also just the reason I brought up about maybe meeting with them was because I know that came up in our last task force meeting, is that there was no sort of like intentional sort of effort on behalf of I don't know how often that is done. I mean, we have it. We do that quite often, actually, with legislators, where it's like if it has to do with farm workers or whatnot, we build that relationship with the office. So I know that we've been speaking with the sponsors, right? And so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe just having that intentional sort of communication, like maybe there's some kind of testimony needed and they'll know who we actually are, right? So that's the only reason I just sort of like a meet and greet type of meeting, and for the subcommittee, but it was just a thought, since it sort of makes it more intentional in that sense, if there were to be future collaboration and if it passes, right? But that's all on my behalf.
Chi, what do you think?
Did you unmute? Oh, sorry, I just saw Chi unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm still digesting the thing that Megan just mentioned, that our letter in April, they didn't see that letter. Why? I find it
Only
surprised. And maybe this is a stupid question. Why they haven't seen our letter?
Only the Assembly Committee on Agriculture saw the letter. So this committee, can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
The letter was addressed to the Assembly Agriculture Committee,
Uh-huh.
and that's who received it. Then they passed the bill, and then it got referred to the Appropriations Committee. But also, like any of support or position letter or opposition letter connected to that draft bill, just kind of, I think, ended at that time with the Agriculture Committee, and then it just moves to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. They don't receive correspondence connected to, they don't receive the correspondence that was addressed to the Agriculture Committee. So because of our timeline, we did not have any opportunity to engage in these steps at the Appropriations Committee or the Senate committees on Agriculture and Natural Resources. But fortunately, it's passed 14-0-76-061. Great. So there's just two more stops for it, right? And it's the Senate Agriculture Committee. If it passes there, then its last stop is the Fiscal Committee. And then boom, becomes a thing. So we've got two more options to engage. I mean, it's clearly demonstrating strong support here. Like there's a lot of support along the way. So you can say like, awesome, it's got tons of momentum. We don't really need to do anything. Great. Our letter is very high level. Or you can also say, hey, why not? We've got a draft letter here. Let's just change who it's addressed to. Maybe you want to add in one line that encourages the bill authors to directly engage with the task force or something.
I like that.
If we were to do that, we need to discuss that, come up with some draft language-ish right now, and then take a vote before we lose Chi in 15 minutes, because then we'll lose quorum.
Okay.
I don't mean to complicate things at all, but when I look at the at the bill on the way that they're showing this through the kind of digital democracy framework thing that the state does, like it shows us in there. It shows us like, oh, this list shows position taken on the bill, which is linked to the original source. Yeah, and there's no opposed text in the summary or the analysis. I guess all I'm saying is like, I think there's a ton of support for this. I think it is very well, there's a lot of alignment in terms of what the outcomes could be from this. And so I think even if people don't see, like, even if the next chamber that's reviewing or committee doesn't see it, I think we're still okay. But I do think if we can just kind of reinforce wanting, part of it is that, like, I don't think there's actually enough time. Like, I don't think there's a feasibility track whereby the drafters come and meet with us and then we give them like actual recommendations to change the amended language in that bill, because then it would have to go back through a review. So I don't know if I think we're like a little too, I could be wrong, but I think it's like too far. I think we're basically saying like, do we want to write a letter and say we'd love to be in touch about this as it, if it passes, like we really, really, really want to be involved in the build out. That I think would be the best case scenario, because I don't think we could actually do the like meet with them and have changes ahead of time with the time that we have left.
I believe that to be true. Go ahead, Irene.
But I don't think anyone's saying to suggest any changes, right? It's just mainly like how we could potentially support. If we really do want this to pass, like, don't we kind of have, like community that we're in touch with and different folks, like maybe they can understand like who we all are in a sense. Like it just sort of not anything to amend or change, but I like how Megan put it. But is that what you were talking about, James? Like what Megan mentioned was to just add a one-liner of like perhaps meeting.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I'm totally into like keeping the repurpose or like repurposing it, changing the who it's to, and then just adding something about like we're very much hoping to meet with the drafters and connect around this important work that aligns with the recommendations that we're making. Something like that. That works for me.
Me too.
Got a thumbs up from Leah and Chi and Irene. Great. So I just put the April 22nd letter up on the screen just to refresh ourselves. It's also available on your website. It's all public information. I can see Chi and Leah giving it a scan.
So do we just want to tweak this one sentence a little bit? That we understand that the bill as written calls for the involvement of the task force and we look forward to exploring ways. Do we just want to make that second part of the sentence a little bit more affirmative?
Yeah, maybe like we stand ready and are excited to connect with something like that. Like, yeah, we stand ready to help develop or to we look forward to co-developing or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Look forward to
I like it being
co-developing. Yeah.
more affirmative of that. Like we are looking forward to doing this thing as you
Yeah.
have called us out.
Yeah, like less like look forward to exploring ways and more like we are excited about engaging on, the implementation should as, if this bill passes.
So revise the second half of the sentence just to make that statement, James. We look
How about we look forward to supporting the Department of Conservation in developing the proposed program? Does that achieve?
Yeah. Developing the program and co-developing the program. Yeah.
Oops, developing, not devoting.
James, I'll read aloud in the chat just since the public can't see that. We look forward to supporting and devoting developing the proposed program in coordination with the Department of Conservation. Heads nodding.
That's great for me.
cool.
I like it. Just inserting ourselves a little more there. We'll take the liberty since they took the liberty.
Yeah.
Excellent. Are there any other revisions that you want to discuss or propose? Okay, hearing none, our next step would be to take action. So would need a motion to repurpose this letter for submission to the Senate Agriculture Committee with a revision of this highlighted second sentence in the third paragraph to restate, we understand that the bill as written calls for the involvement of the task force, and we look forward to supporting and developing the proposed program in coordination with the Department of Conservation. Is there a motion?
I so
Question,
moved.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Aren't there a few more committees? And should we just proactively say that we want to submit to all of the rest of them?
The
That's
remaining
smart.
committees? The Senate Agriculture Committee and the Fiscal Committee.
Yeah, that's smart. Save our time.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that.
And it would be helpful as well in that motion that you're developing to decide which of you will be the point person that will be responsive to those opportunities as they arrive. So you decide you want the upcoming committee, who should staff work with to facilitate your submission process? James served that role in this one.
We can take turns. If Leah or Irene agrees.
I mean,
Okay.
since James was so good at it, I was gonna volunteer.
We can do that too.
Whatever's easiest, and I'm happy to do it again. I'm also happy to pass it to anybody else. I mean, basically, I think like the goal is the motion is with the amended language to go to the next two review bodies. And that means we need 2 letters with 2 signatures. That just means meeting with staff in the next couple of days to do the signature thing, which I'm happy to do. But if other people want to too, I think it might be nice to have other signatories from the task force. I mean, we're all signatories, but like the signature.
Actual signature.
I'm happy to share in that burden.
Me too.
Okay, then I propose Leah will sign and submit the first iteration to the Senate Agriculture Committee, and she will sign and submit the second iteration to the Fiscal Committee.
Works for me.
Okay. Are we missing anything else as part of this motion?
Motion to do this.
Great. There's a motion by Member Zoe. Is there a second?
I second.
Let's pause and see. Thank you, Member Nakahara, for the second. If there's any public comment related to this working session and proposed action.
There does not appear to be any public comment.
Okay, then let's call the question. Please state aye if you are in favor, nay if you are opposed, or let us know if you abstain. Member Nakahara,
Aye.
Member Schwartzman,
Aye.
Member Zoe,
Aye.
Member De Baracua.
Aye.
Motion carries. Great, so we will slightly revise this letter. We will prepare it for signature for submission to the Senate Agriculture Committee. That will have Member Schwartzman's signature. Following that, at the appropriate time, signature to the Fiscal Committee with Member Zoe as the signatory. Oh, Member Brown just joined. Yeah, and Leah, you had your hands up. Go ahead.
Just noting that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you. I as well. I'm driving, so sorry.
Great. Thank you for being here, Nathaniel. I really am not quite sure at what point in my rambling you logged into the meeting. Did you hear that we just took an action?
I did hear all the action. I did read, and I agree. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. Were you online when we were going around and asking to see if the motion carries?
Yes. So
Okay, so I missed you. My apologies. And if I could just rewind the tape 30 seconds or so. Member Brown, what's your vote? Aye. Okay, the motion still carries. Great. Thanks, everyone. Okay, let me change back to our PowerPoint. Okay, we just confirmed next steps and assignments. Which is the same thing as reviewing action items and follow-up items. I don't think that there's any real need for this subcommittee to meet in July before our August meeting, but you tell me, does anyone have a desire to reconnect? Not seeing any need for that. Okay, great. So we'll report back to the task force. We'll obviously send out some information before then, but we'll report back formally to the task force at our August 13th, 14th meeting. Any other general public comments or comments related to the working session? Thank you, Chi. Not seeing
There
any-
are no public comments.
Okay. If this Friday we've got Grants and Resources Subcommittee from 1 to 3, we actually have a pretty packed agenda for that. If you care to join or sign in, if you're not a member of that subcommittee, and then our next full task force meeting, August 13th and 14th in Arcata and virtual. As always, we'll get meeting notes posted to our website and the finalized meeting summary from April up there, and we'll get a draft meeting summary out from this meeting to you all for consideration next week. Thank you for the efficiency today, folks, and have a great rest of your Wednesday halfway through the week.
Good seeing everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Sorry I was late.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to hold on.